Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time around, it is a review of the 2018 horror sequel, Unfriended, Dark Web. Death wants some FaceTime. Now, this is a sequel to a film that really had quite a divided opinion from critics. I was one of the few that really enjoyed Unfriended. I thought it was a really good film for what it was. The only issues I had with it were very minor. I thought the ending could have been handled differently, and there was a few other things, but for the most part, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very unique. I thought it was different. I thought it stood out in a good way from the rest of the pack when it comes to the horror genre, and that's why I was legitimately a bit curious about this sequel, Dark Web. And thanks to the same friend of mine and longtime subscriber who sent me Unfriended, he sent me some money through PayPal and wanted me to buy this film and to review it for him. And that's why we're here, and that's why I saw the film. Because it was a little low on my list because there were other films I was more interested in, because I saw the trailer for this and it just didn't really look like it was going to be that good. And after watching it, yeah, it kind of sucks. But I admittedly have seen worse. But once then again, that's not saying much. But it's one of those movies where there's some interesting stuff. There's some potential here, but ultimately it's wasted with boring characters, a plot and overall story that just doesn't have the same potency as the first film, and honestly, as a horror film, it doesn't really have the same amount of scares that the first film did for me. The supernatural element with the mix of the supernatural and technology, I thought that was very fun and really opened a lot of new things to the particular genre that the film was creating, with the POV of people on their laptops, on Skype, and so on and so forth. And it seemed like there was more to it. Like there was more research involved. There was going to Google. There was doing all this other stuff. This didn't feel as immersive. It felt very stock and standard. Like there was a little bit in the beginning with Matthias after he logged into this mysterious computer that he found or stole from his work, and the majority of the film is him with his friends on Skype on game night, and him conversing with them as things get crazier and crazier, and him also trying to get back together with his girlfriend and also save her from these mysterious deep web hackers. So the supernatural elements are replaced by what is supposed to be hackers, but they do things that I've never seen any evidence of ever. Like these hackers can hack into anything with just a snap of their fingers. They can do all this stuff, like make glitch out people, shoving people off buildings. In live time. I don't know about that. But then again, I'm not really an expert on hacking, so I mean, they could actually be able to do all that stuff now, but it just seems a little bit uh too easy for them to do all this shit. I mean, they could find everybody, they could do all this, and they could do it super quick, and da 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 da. And on one hand, that's kind of scary that there could be some group of shadowy underground deep web hackers that if you encounter them and their underworld of snuff video trafficking, and you get in their sights, that your life is fucked and you are going to die, and they'll find any way they can find you anywhere, and they can hack into anything. They could probably hack into your own asshole. But it's just one of those things that, yeah, it's kind of scary, but at the same time, it's not really as scary as the unknown, which involves like the ghost and the whole supernatural element from the first movie. I understand why they couldn't just do the same thing again, uh, but it also makes me wonder why they did this anyway. Like, in a lot of ways, this sequel is just unnecessary. It's kind of a cash in. It's like, oh, let's just do Unfriended 2 because the first film was a surprise hit. So let's do the second film. Let's do another one. And this is one of those just sequels that really does feel unnecessary. So it's directed by this guy named Steven Susco. He also wrote the film, and before this, he hadn't really done that much in terms of directing. Like his first big, this was his first feature film that he directed. All of the other movies he did were short films. He had worked on as a crew member, as a co-producer, as a writer on other things. He was the guy who wrote the story for Texas Chainsaw 3D. I will say this isn't as bad as Texas Chainsaw 3D, but that's very faint praise. But yeah, the direction, I'm not really gonna say it's particularly bad because this kind of film is very difficult to really put your mark to, because to leave your own personal mark onto, because it's very static. It's a setup of somebody is on a laptop. They're messing around with Spotify. They do some Google search. They go on Skype. They talk with their friends. They communicate with people through Facebook. They, talk to other people through FaceTime on their phone. That kind of stuff. So, they go to some different links and websites and all this other stuff. So there's really not a lot you can do directing wise to really make to really leave your auteur mark as a director. So I mean, you'd have to really, really fuck things up to fuck something like this up. I mean, this is the kind of thing that honestly I think almost anybody could do. I mean, you could probably direct this movie because a lot of it is just screen recording, and that's about it. The where the film really is able to have some sort of artistic merit is more likely reserved to the overall plot, the screenplay, or the editing. Like, there's a cinematographer, Kevin Stewart, but this is also not something that really has that much in terms of cinematography. But yeah, I would say in a film like this, the most important thing is the script, the actors, and the editor, the editing. And I thought it was well edited by Andrew Westman. I don't think that was really a sore spot when it comes to this movie. And for the most part, I thought the acting was fine. It's just the screenplay kind of sucked. So you don't have the same unraveling that occurred in the first film, where you have these characters and they seem like they're one way, but as the film goes on, it reveals their true nature. You don't have that. So you just have these characters who just seem rather nice or innocent, and that makes things kind of depressing, especially when it comes to when they end up getting involved in the deep web underworld and they get caught in a crossfire. And that's not really the best kind of vibe or the overall kind of feel that you want out of a film like this. Or maybe that's what they were going for, but I don't know. It just makes you, it just leaves you numb in a lot of ways. It's not, and it also is kind of boring because these characters, and it doesn't help either. Like, some of them, they're nice and the acting is fine, but they don't really have much in terms of a personality. Like, for instance, the blonde girl and her girlfriend, the deaf girl, Amaya, other than the fact that she's deaf and she's pretty, that there's nothing to her as a character. And the most likable character to me was this computer nerd guy who lived in England. He was lived in the UK, Damon. And then you have other characters like AJ Jeffcock, Alistair Jeffcock, who's just a fucking asshole. The guy was unlikable. I didn't like it. He was the type of guy who probably smells his own farts and thinks they smell like roses. You know, he does videos on YouTube talking about like how the government is tracking you and you need to stop being a sheep and all this other dumb shit. And he goes on rants that are just irritating. He honestly reminded me of Spoonie, but like Spoonie after his breakdown, like Spoonie from today, and that's not really the best kind of a character you want in a film. I thought he was more unlikable than any of the characters in the first movie. Like I did when he got shot by the cops, when he got swatted, I was like, you know what? I don't feel too bad. I really don't. The guy's a fucking asshole. But no, in all seriousness though, I'd rather nobody die. I'd rather that nobody got involved with the dark web underworld, but you know, that's the plot of the movie. So, but it also is a problem when you have characters that either are too unlikable or too bland, too boring. The lead guy, I didn't care for him either. Like, he seemed like he was kind of a dick too. And I mean, and he's also a dumbass, and he's the main reason why all of this shit happens. And he says the dumbest fucking things. I mean, in the first movie, it's supernatural. There's not a lot of explanation for it. Like, you can't control it. Like, if you try to end the call, you'll die. And it's supernatural, and it'll just possess you and fucking kill your ass. In this, it's all just a cycle of stupidity. It's all one dumb thing after another that leads to people getting involved in this deadly underworld of snuff video traffickers. And it's all tied into Matthias being a massive fucking douchebag and a moron. Matthias the moron. So he not only does he steal this laptop, but he goes in and he just constantly keeps digging and does things that most people would not be doing. Like, I don't know about you, but if I find a laptop and for one, the username is a question mark and the password is a question mark, I'm definitely gonna be questioning what the fuck is going on right from the get-go. If all of a sudden there's a Facebook account that's already on there and I log in to my Facebook and then randomly it logs me out and I get logged into this other Facebook and I have all these women commenting and sending messages talking about, hey, you got the plane tickets for me yet? I'd be like, this is fucking weird. This is messed up. This is strange. I don't want anything to do with this. And then I get a message from this guy talking about, oh, I really liked the last thing you did. I sent you the money. Then I just be like, okay, fuck this, man. I'm out. But no, most people would do that. Most people with a brain would be like, fuck this. I'm out. I'm not dealing with this shit. But he keeps digging. He keeps going further. He communicates with these people more. He goes even as far to even do more research, discovers where, you know, this person is getting her money or his money, whoever the fuck it is, in this Bitcoin site. He keeps messing around with it. He gets his friends roped in, gets his computer nerd friend Damon from the UK to give him some advice to figure out what's on this hidden hard drive. First off, if there are hard drives that are hidden, that's a fucking red flag. But nope. He's like, I gotta see what's on these hidden hard drives. Figures it out, goes in, checks them out, finds out that there are videos that are snuff videos of people killing people. And then he's like, I'm still want to figure out what this river thing is. And he actually, what happens is he gets another PM from somebody, tells him to go to the river. He goes to the river. This application that looks like it's a cutscene from Minecraft, and gets involved, goes further and further deeper. Of course, it involves then, eventually he goes too deep, and now he's fucked. The hacker knows where he is. He wants his laptop, and he does a dumb thing, transfers all the money from the Bitcoin account to his account for insurance, and that causes the hacker to essentially kidnap his girlfriend. So now he's got to follow his rules, otherwise the hacker's gonna kill his girlfriend. And then because he took out the money, now the other hackers, now they are gonna go after the other hacker, and now they want the Matthias, and then they start taking out his friends by one, and ultimately you find out that it's all fucking, fun and games for this group of shadowy hackers. It was game night. They just left that laptop, and they were just for a group of hackers that is supposedly super intelligent, super smart, the smartest, most intelligent hackers in the world, their plan for this entire thing was built on the most flimsy of foundations. The foundation for this entire plan was built with fucking toothpicks, and all it would have taken was one little thing that didn't happen the way that they planned, and none of this would have occurred. They wouldn't have had their game night, and they would not have had their fun. And when you have a script that has to rely on so many dumb things to happen in order for your movie to happen, you've got a bad movie. I mean, there's so many dumb things. Not only does he steal the laptop, then he just keeps on digging and digging and digging and digging, and most people would be like, as soon as they see the snuff videos, like, oh, no. The river, fuck this. I don't want anything to do with the river. Oh, the guy wants his laptop? Okay, I'm just gonna go to the fucking cafe. I'm gonna drop the laptop off, and I'll be done. But hey, I'm a smart guy, though. I would not have even gotten to the point where I have to drop the laptop off to the hacker, because he probably would have killed my ass anyway. Probably would have killed Matthias if he went and dropped it off, because he knows something. He knows what's going on. I'm sorry for the rambling. It's just that's the best way to really share my thoughts on this overall script and this story. And it also doesn't help either that it's PG-13. So any of the intensity, any of the genuine horror is totally lost. Where in the first film you can have a PG-13 rating because it's more of a supernatural thing. This is like the snuff films. This is like dark web hackers, like a shadowy underworld of hackers who are going around and getting these snuff videos. And you see some, and I know it's pretty horrific, but that's the whole premise of it. And it would have more impact if you actually saw more of these videos. But what you see is just, oh, it looks like he's going to pour some acid on somebody. Then you don't see anything. Then it looks like, oh, this is going to happen. They're going to do this other horrible thing to this other person, and that doesn't happen. So honestly, this could easily have aired on MTV. So it's one of those things where it's like, you have these snuff videos, but they have no impact because you don't see anything other than what is implied. And I get why they went that route, because they were forced to, but that's the problem. You write yourself into a corner when you have a PG-13 movie and you have all these, crazy shit, and you can't show. Actually, it's rated R. So you know what? That's even worse. I just realized it's rated R. It's rated R, and they didn't fucking go there. They did not go far enough. If you are going to have a plotline about snuff videos, then fucking show the gore. Go balls out, go fucking crazy with it. They didn't. They were just like, oh, here's a video. We're not going to show it. Oh, I can't watch that. And you're like, why do the snuff subplot? Why do any of this? The goriest, bloodiest scene is this scene where this girl takes out a cork out of her head. Why was this even rated R? For the subject material. But maybe for some swearing? I don't know why this is rated R. I really don't. The reason why I thought it was PG-13 is because it feels and plays out like a PG-13 movie. It does not really play out like an R film. You could cut out a few scenes and it would easily be PG-13 and it would not have hurt the film in any way. Wouldn't have missed anything either. So you're probably like, okay, is there anything that you like about this movie? Like I said, some of the acting isn't bad. I did buy that they were friends, the group of friends, and they're hanging out, playing Cards Against Humanity. There were some characters I did like Damon, but despite the fact that there's 3 alternate endings you can choose, none of those endings involve him living, which sucks because he's the best character. He's the character I like the most. So all those endings were kind of useless, if you ask me. And you have this whole shadowy underground of hackers. The way that they dealt with Sharon 4 wasn't really dealt with very well because the guy just came across as a total fucking dweeb. So, and I guess that's sort of the point. But even when they had him disguising his voice, it sounded silly. So that started to take me out of the film. Then you had the mysterious different Sharons that would show up on Skype and would hack into things and would change people's information or would SWAT people or would cause all this other sort of stuff or would shove one gal into a train or cause this one girl to make a choice, pull the plug on your mother or let your girlfriend die or your fiance die. And she couldn't choose, so of course the hackers killed them both. And then I think killed her, and I'm like, but that's just a minor little quibble, all things considered. And then like there's nothing satisfying about it either. Like, for instance, in the first movie, it was revenge. It was a revenge film. In this, it's just a shadowy group of underground hackers who got away with everything and killed everybody. And got a, sick and twisted laugh out of it, like a bunch of trolls. That's all it is. And you're like, well, fuck this movie. If you ask me, the better sequel would be Axel Foley going deep, deep, deep undercover and confronting all these underground deep web hackers and inflicting some Detroit justice on them. That would be a much better movie. But nope, what we got was a film with weak characters, weak scares, weak horror. It was a very lukewarm affair in a lot of different ways. The acting, like I said, it's not that bad. Colin Woodell is Matthias. He's fine. I just don't like his character. Betty Gabriel, she's fine as Nari, and so is Rebecca Rittenhouse as Serena, but their characters aren't really that engaging. They're not really that interesting. They're not particularly that likable. They're very bland. They're very weak sauce. Andrew Lee's, I liked him the most as Damon. Connor Del Rio, I guess he did a good job playing the spoony character that he was asked to portray. So I guess he did a good job. Stephanie Nogueras, I mean, for what she was asked to do, did an okay job, but the character left zero impression on me other than the fact that she was deaf. And I understand, hey, it's kind of a cool, and honestly was a nice thing to see a deaf character in a film like this. So it's not really her fault, but she wasn't given the whole lot to do. She was just a damsel in distress for the majority of the movie. Then you had Savria Windyani as Lex. I guess she was the other one that I liked, but she didn't get that much to do. She was barely in the movie, and she was one of the first to die. And then you had Alexa Mansour, who plays Erica Dunn, who's this girl who goes missing, which is tied into the whole kidnappings and underground snuff film cult of Sharons. And that's really all that you have in terms of a cast. You have the various different people who play different Sharons and all that. And then there's alternate endings. There's one where Matthias ends up getting buried alive, and Amaya lives. There's another one where Amaya and Matthias survive because the hackers all of a sudden decide that they've earned it, and it's way too schmaltzy of an ending, and it doesn't match with the rest of the tone of the film. Then you have the alternate. There's another ending where Amaya dies, and then it's left open. Essentially, it's a suicide ending where it's like, well, Matthias is left with a gun in his hand. He's like, will he kill himself? Because he's still been set up now for the kidnapping of Erica Dunn, so he's fucked. And it's just left up in the air whether or not he's going to shoot himself. Like, these alternate endings suck, too. They were awful as well. I mean, they didn't help the film. They didn't make the movie any better. Really, you could easily just duct tape your fucking eyes shut for an hour and 30 something minutes, and you will get the same experience as you would watching Unfriended Dark Web. The more I think about this, the more I don't like this movie. I honestly think this film sucks. I think it's a pretty shitty sequel, to be perfectly honest. There's really nothing to make it particularly memorable. It doesn't really stick with you. It doesn't have the same resonance or the same potency or overall impact as the first film. It feels like a cheap cash in on the popularity of the first movie, and you have this dark web, deep web group of snuff video traders, and they come across as incredibly overpowered or wimpy or weak, and in the videos, the product that they create, the film never really goes balls to the wall with it, so it's a letdown in that regard too. It's just one of those movies where it honestly is a waste. It's the kind of film where you could just put it in the recycle bin and press delete. I mean, this isn't much of a review, but then again, that really was not much of a movie. There really wasn't much here. If I want to talk about anything else, there really wasn't much of a score. Just some songs that really weren't that great. Yeah, I definitely would not recommend this one. Even if you like the first film, unless you're really, really curious, I wouldn't recommend this one because it just, like I said, it just does not, and I've said this many times, and it bears repeating, this does not have the same potency as the first movie. They used a similar formula, but it just wasn't quite as potent. It just didn't really have the same properties, and overall, it just wound up being a disappointing, forgettable film and a shitty sequel. You put this in a pile of other shitty sequels, which there are many, and you could just throw this right into that pile. So anyway, yeah, thanks for watching my review and rant on Unfriended Dark Web, and I'll see you later. See ya.